All right, welcome back. It is a sad, sad time because now this is the last video, fortunately. But I referenced in the last video that with the cassette that's kind of whirring, it represents like a passage of time, and then now you're at a kind of a new portion of yourself really as you've lived your life. A little fun fact that was pretty interesting is when I had written the song, not created a demo or anything, or I had just written it, the portion before this section starts was one piece, and then this portion was the second piece, like completely separate. I had felt that the beginning was actually like quite incomplete. I remembered this and then I pieced it together and...
So you're saying there were two separate songs?
Yeah, well, there were two separate snippets, I'd say, because they weren't really like fleshed out to full songs at the time, but I realized that they were kind of in like the same emotional realm, and I just went, all right, let's just pop them together basically.
Yeah.
And I think it does a really good job of just making the whole thing more cinematic really, and push the world view just a little bit further really as well, which is fun. I do think that there's a very organic sound to this portion that Bryce delivered on very, very well, and that's why I really, really like this section. It's a return to the sentimental moments, but it kind of transforms what was a regret and a willingness to return to what it was to, you know, you're a bit remorseful about it, but now you're ready to just release it, basically. I also just really like the lyrics that I wrote there. I think I ate, but let's listen to the section, and it's hallmarked first by, once again, that cassette whirring, which you will hear now. And then here, this section, your guitars actually change up, or my guitars, not your guitars. And I changed the syncopation and the tempo to be a lot more laid back as well. Then the vocals come in. So, with the guitars, this is actually the guitars that I played, which is why it doesn't sound very pristine, because unfortunately I can't play like Toby. Bryce actually apparently had removed one, which I didn't realize until literally just now.
And I've kept the guitar L main bridge. Kept the left guitar because you played it better.
With the guitars, because now we're in a kind of cassette space, it sounds like you're listening on earphones, which is what I told Bryce. I remember I was saying to him specifically, I want it to sound like it's coming out of like a Sony cassette Walkman and you've got your dingy earphones, you know, so that's the nostalgia factor of it all. How do you achieve that with the guitars?
Well, I think initially with the guitar, that was your sort of demo first guitar take you used. In the session with Toby, we ran out of time to do the bridge.
Yeah.
And I think in that moment I was just like, let's just keep the jangly.
He just called my playing jangly, that's crazy.
No, okay, it wasn't, not a little bit jangly, but like let's just keep this guitar. I would describe it a little bit jangly, a little bit like dirty and imperfect. It's gonna suit that cassette aesthetic.
Yeah.
Just like a rough recording, sort of. Nothing's perfect. I don't think I used much processing for it. We'll
probably just like a little bit of EQing.
Yeah, let's have a look and see. So that's with the processing. Without the processing, I think I'm just taking out some low end with Soothe, Tascam for a tape emulation.
Classic.
And then what did I do here? Just got rid of the some of those stringy sounds. I'm pretty sure that's what I would have done with this. And yeah, that's it.
Cool. the memory I have of the recording was that it was a bit boomy in the mid space, I suppose. It was a bit boxy. So having it come out so like really clean, despite that, was very cool to listen to. So stunning job there.
Good job, Soothe.
Additional to that, this is the most vocally full section. And it was a lot of layering that I had done with a previous lecturer. And he had given me the suggestion, do a whole bunch of layers. And he was going to pick a few that would like carry the main body of it. But then the things that were not quite making the cut, he was just going to reduce and basically create like air out of them. Which I didn't really know how he did that, but I was just like, all right, you do whatever you want to do. You know more than me. Did you follow that line of processing, or did you balance it differently?
Yes, I didn't actually do much processing to it, like a group singing. So my main processing was getting rid of a lot of sibilants. Introspection, okay, so the S was getting rid of those S's, because like the further you stand away from somebody, the less you're going to hear the sibilants. So I was trying to replicate that. Hence why I love being there during the recording process, because then I would have actually gotten you to stand like really far away from the mic.
Yeah.
And then this was a gate, and just getting rid of some of that room sound.
Yep.
When you're not
by
singing.
Airplanes and by birds that probably would have been in the background.
And the toilet reverb. So basically I used a de-esser and gate for all 24 or so tracks. And at times I think I would be using some EQ to get rid of that low end. But that was it. And also edits. Aligning all those vocals.
Yep.
Not perfectly, but just enough that you weren't hearing for like 1 second.
Yeah, I think even when I recorded it, the guy before you, when I presented it to him, I only had like 5 tracks. So when I did the 20 tracks, I didn't do the 25 altogether. So it kind of like, I wasn't very conscious of timing, which was a bit of a shame. That made a lot of work for you, but...
Well, it helped in the sense of like, because not everybody in the crowd sings in time, right? And there's always like those variations. But there were a lot of them where it was like, Deb, what's going on here?
Sorry, it's 2 a.m. is my reply. No jokes. That's so funny. I'm glad it worked out in its imperfections, really. I think the last little section of this piece that we can focus on is just like the actual cassette sounds and stuff. I believe there was like an original stem that I took off Splice, and it was just the casual whirring, and there was a second one that had like the clicking that I just cut into pieces and put in place. Did you add anything else to that, or it was just it? Nice and simple Atmos.
Didn't even do reverb for that section. Just there was so much fresh reflections from that space you were singing in. That was the atmosphere and reverb for that.
There you go.
Part.
Yeah. All right, that I think is basically a wrap on everything. Hope you've enjoyed, and I also hope that now that I've kind of released everything has been put into context, including the snippets that I released and the artwork. If you had noticed, it was 4 letters, although, the last 3 are a bit subjective to call them letters, but that's what I delivered to the artist that worked on it. His name is Isaac. Absolute legend. Each part there is supposed to reflect each of these sound parts and like the environments we wrote it in. So I hope it all now makes sense, the prosody that we were both aiming for, really. Last thing to wrap it up, because we love life lessons, let's do 1 up and 1 down, or what Bryce is liking to call it, 1 rose and 1 thorn of this production moment, I suppose. Do you want to go first, or I can go first?
Do you have the tissues?
Tissues? Oh, I've got some tissues.
All right.
Was that hard for you?
I think my thorn, just a lot of edits.
Yeah.
Too many edits. Whether it was me editing my guitar lays, getting them in time, or editing the vocals, or doing melodyne. There's a lot of work behind the scene.
Yeah.
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 That was my thorn.
Yeah. I actually was on like a similar thought as well. I reckon my downside was that because I had to deliver it to you with everything rather than starting from scratch. And that would have made it a lot more difficult for you to have it sound as cohesive as possible because it wasn't in a cohesive environment or an environment that you could have controlled at the time. It definitely would have made your life a bit more difficult in that regard. But on a more less thorny and more rosy note, I think my op is that I've got a track out. I didn't think that would happen. It wasn't really on my 2025 bingo, but I pushed for it a little bit more for once, and now I can say I've got a song on Spotify, which is nice. Yeah. What about you?
I would say I really enjoyed working with you.
Oh, now I look like a jackass. Oh, Bryce, you're so sweet.
And no, I appreciated the role that you gave me through this process because this is what I love doing. I love when an artist is really intentional with what they want, and then me having the ability to execute that creatively and technically, like, that was great.
I'm glad to hear. I do remember you called it, it turned into more of a passion project for you, and I was like, oh, that's so nice to hear because, it means that just as passionate as I was about the track, you were also just as passionate. It's always fun when you're on the same level in terms of your drive for stuff. Yeah, so I really appreciate that. And of course, I appreciate working with you. I'll do 2 roses. I would not have had this track to the quality that it is if I didn't have you on it, covering up all of my janky guitar or my very out of time vocals and, not necessarily getting rid of that imperfection, but creating a beauty in it. I appreciate that a lot. Yeah. But hope you guys enjoyed. This is my really awkward wrap up for this whole segment. I hope.
What's next?
What's next?
Yeah, what's next?
Oh, what's next? I don't know what's next for me. I'll figure it out. Hopefully an EP, but I need to actually songwrite for that. But if you guys were curious about anything we didn't mention, please feel free to chuck in a comment, even chuck in a comment about what you enjoyed maybe, or something you did notice that I didn't notice, but you picked it up from him mentioning it, and you were better than me in that regard. Chuck a comment, chuck a like, subscribe if you'd like. This has been Deb, otherwise known as Nini, with To Us.
Bryce, audio engineer, producer, Deb's friend.
Yes. Hope you enjoyed, and we'll catch you whenever the next one is. Yeah. Cool. Bye. Wrapped.
All right.
Let's.
Just as you were wrapping up the